Chemistry differential? Hi all. I'm a 34F who recently moved to a new city. I connected with a 37M on a dating app a few weeks before I made the move. We chatted for a week, at which point he proposed we should meet up once I made the move. I reached out to him per our agreement, and we actually met up 2 days after my arrival. He kindly offered to meet me on my side of town at an upscale bar that he selected. We ended up chatting for 3 hours. In my opinion, we had good chemistry and were able to establish a healthy flirtatious banter. We even talked about our shared desire for children when he brought up the topic of his nieces. Since we were seated at the bar, I could feel his knees grazing mine throughout the night, and I made sure to casually touch his arm, back, and bicep when appropriate. He offered to drive me home, and we ended the night with a nice hug in his car. I could tell he was probably too shy to go for a kiss, and it's not my style to kiss on a first date either. Immediately after getting home, I texted him saying I had a great time, and he said the same. He texted the next day to ask how my day was and disclosed that he went to church and spent time with his dog. We share the same religious background, so I thought he would be a decent, upstanding guy even if we didn't work out. The next day, he asked if I would be interested in having dinner on his side of town later that week. I ultimately agreed because he would have been working that day, and I wouldn't be, so I didn't want to unnecessarily burden him. When I arrived outside the restaurant, he immediately complimented me, which felt great given the effort I put into my appearance for the date. Dinner conversation was free-flowing and easy with no awkward pauses, but I noticed he didn't ask me any deep questions about myself, for example, what I was looking for, previous relationship history, etc. We ended up going to a bar afterward because we were the last ones at the restaurant before they closed for the night. While I appreciated that he made the reservation in advance, I would have liked for him to arrange for my travel/Uber as well, since he knew it was an expensive journey and I didn't yet have a car, while he did. Furthermore, and more importantly, I knew he had the means to because he is extremely well compensated by his job. Bear in mind I had just moved, and with that comes lots of expenses. This second date was 4 hours in total. Before we left the bar, he got up and suggested I get my Uber while he made his way to the bathroom, to freshen up I gather. He ended up kissing me just before I got in the Uber I got for myself. I was so distracted by his lack of chivalry in that regard that I wasn't feeling the kiss at all. We continued to text while he was out of state visiting his family for the holidays. He ended up coming back to town earlier than expected and called me on New Year's Eve to see if I wanted to spend it with him. When I asked what he had in mind, he said he would be down to cook if I wanted to come over. He even asked if I had any allergies and what I'd like to drink, since he knew I wasn't drinking alcohol due to medical reasons. Naively, I thought it would be a chill night with some intimacy, but nothing crazy considering we had never talked about physical intimacy/sexuality or anything of the sort. The first half of the evening was tame while we caught up on our holidays and ate the food he prepared. Almost immediately after getting settled on the couch, he made a move and things progressed from there. I eventually stopped things, and he still asked me to stay over for the night, after saying he felt tired at 10 p.m. We got comfy in bed and cuddled while we watched an episode of his favorite show. He again tried to advance things physically in the bedroom, but I didn't feel comfortable reciprocating just yet. For context, I am a virgin, which he knew nothing about as he didn't bother to inquire, and I wasn't comfortable doing stuff to or with him, in terms of penetration, without first having a conversation about STI screening. I felt his energy promptly shift after I stopped him from advancing further the second time we had engaged with one another. We ended up going to bed before midnight, and he didn't attempt to kiss me when I said Happy New Year to him, and he said the same back to me. He also didn't engage in any pillow talk. Notably, the following morning, he didn't make any further moves or perform any aftercare whatsoever, which was extremely disturbing and hurtful. Truthfully, it felt as though he couldn't be bothered to engage with me at all. He didn't even offer me a glass of water, let alone coffee or food. I remained in bed thinking we'd finally be able to chat about our physical intimacy and boundaries after he returned from walking his dog, but I was sorely mistaken. He only returned to the bedroom to play with his dog, who had made its way back, and eventually made his way to his living, where he put football on and did some cleaning in his kitchen. I felt so uncomfortable and unwanted that I promptly changed my clothes and played with his dog a bit while I waited for the Uber I ordered myself. When I hugged him goodbye, I felt in my heart that was the last time I would see him again. When I got home around 9 a.m., I called him and asked if he felt the vibe was weird, to which he said no. I also disclosed I was a virgin, to which he said I didn't know, before quickly changing the subject. He genuinely sounded surprised because of how engaged I was and authentically performative I appeared to be. The reason for my disclosure had to do with the fact that I wanted him to know that I was in fact interested in him, and my lack of reciprocity in the bedroom did not have to do with a lack of my desire for him. Not once did he think to inquire about how I was feeling. Given his age and proclaimed religiosity, I expected more empathy and compassion. I didn't hear from him until very late Sunday night, 4 long days later, by text, in which he said he had time to reflect, and that he felt I was really awesome and he enjoyed our time together, but he wasn't sure if the chemistry was there. He claimed that he wanted to remain friends. I was devastated. I texted him the following night stating it was fine, but that I was confused as to why he would initiate physical intimacy if he had concerns about our chemistry that he never even informed me of. Spoiler alert, he never dignified my message with a response as I had his. Even though I wanted to go off on him, I thought asking a simply worded and polite text would entice/encourage him to respond. I was wrong. I willed myself to move on by going out on a date with another guy 2 weeks later, yesterday, but that experience showed me what a true lack of chemistry feels like. This has left me feeling like the previous guy made a premature and hasty decision that was truly wrong and unfounded. Objectively, I'm a catch: beautiful, intelligent, kind, ambitious, successful, charismatic, poised, and engaging. On our first date, I got him water while he was having a coughing fit, and during our second date I fixed his coat zipper as soon as we were seated at our table. I don't know why this guy didn't even care to bring up his supposed concern in a conversation. I don't believe a man would be so proactive in courting me and initiating physical intimacy solely focused on my pleasure if he truly felt no chemistry at all. My gut tells me he came up with that reason because he knew it would be difficult and close to impossible to refute. For reference, he is white and I am black. We have vastly different interests, but I took great effort to learn about his pastimes, and he never did the same for me. He hasn't unmatched me on Hinge. However, our conversation is now hidden because of the elapsed amount of time. I guess my question is, what do you think truly changed for him in such a short amount of time? Do you think he'll ever reach back out to me again? I'm hurt. I felt like we had a palpable physical chemistry and the potential for emotional intimacy as time went on. His eyes would sparkle when he looked at me. I have enough experience to know that is rare to come by in this dating labyrinth. Ultimately, I deeply miss him and unfortunately am left wishing that he will reach out and apologize for his mistakes and ask for another chance.